Hey guys, welcome to the Perfectly Wasted podcast. I'm the host DullOxide. Today's episode 14 on culture washing. You can find all of my previous episodes on the Drinking Wisemen YouTube channel, along with my bi-weekly podcast Brew the Truth, all my day-to-day photos, cosplay photos, things like that on my Instagram at DullOxide. So something that's been happening recently is that there's been a lot of accusations of whitewashing in American film industry. Okay, so the most recent of which would be like Ghost in a Shell. So obviously this is what is considered whitewashing, absolutely, and I totally understand why people get upset with this kind of thing, and there is something to point out that we in America do have a very large movie industry, and a lot of the effects and things like that are done on in California and Hollywood. And so if it's being done in Hollywood, generally you're going to have a lot of white actors and actresses inside of a movie. Now, could they have found somebody that matched the role a little bit better that was Asian? Probably, but they're out to make money. The movie studios are out to make money. So who do they get? They get the Avenger. They get Scarlett Johansson because everyone knows her and they want to make money. So I understand from the perspective of a fan why you would want it to be more real to the series, and I understand from the perspective of Hollywood that you're trying to make money. So there's another not quite as big of an example of this, and that would be with the new Death Note movie that's coming out from Netflix. Obviously, they already have live-action Death Note films, and this one's going to be a Netflix exclusive, and so the budget isn't necessarily as high, and I believe they're trying to go with more of bringing this to America as an American story than they are trying to go with like the original story of it taking place in Japan, because that would make more sense if they'd had Japanese actors. So this is kind of along the lines of where I want to go into with what I'm calling culture washing. Okay, so obviously, if you live in Japan and you watch, like, let's say, American sitcom, or you watch really any American show, American cartoons, things like that, you're not really going to get everything that happens. You're not going to get a lot of the jokes, and you're not going to get a lot of the references that are made unless you're really into American culture. And similarly, if you watch Japanese anime and they're talking about different folk tales or whatever, things like that, you might not know exactly what they are. It's kind of like in Harry Potter when they're talking about the difference between the old fairy tales, the tales of Beetle the Bard, and Harry's like, I've got no idea what these are because I've never heard them, and that's just because people grow up learning and hearing about different things depending on where they're born, whether it be on one side of the nation or another side of the nation, one side of the world or another side of the world. The stories are going to be different, so with that, there are stereotypes for everyone, and some things that we see in anime are like, as an example, people from America or that are from Europe and different areas are all they're all blonde and have blue eyes, and the girls are always bombshells, and the guys always have like kind of like a gruff look. Now in anime, different color hairs is not super rare, but the one thing that kind of bugs me is that they make everyone look the same, whether they are like, with the exception of Americans. Sometimes Americans look the same depending on how the character designer decided to design them, or they look dramatically different. They are like super gruff and super muscular and loud and and so forth, and that I guess kind of matches Americans to some extent. Like, obviously, our current president's a really loud, obnoxious, blonde hair, blue eyed guy. So that kind of hits the nail on the head with that. But then there's also the oh, we got to be the biggest, the best. Food Wars. You got the American girl in that who, or well, I guess she's half maybe, but she always wants the best meats. And that's her like big thing. And like I said, some character designs are different. Obviously Tina here has a similar enough character design to her Asian counterpart inside of the series, who, looks practically the same. they didn't really make it so that they're so obviously different, except with the blonde hair, blue eyes. And that's where they kind of went and drew the line, is they decided to, stick with it, make it all look normal, and then go from there, because it doesn't have to be so tremendously different. Obviously, not all Americans have blonde hair and blue eyes. Not all Japanese have black hair and brown eyes, or, anything like that. Everyone is different. So, there are stereotypes that we have that are all over the place, and there are stereotypes that, the Japanese and the Europeans have that are all over the place. It's just kind of like a odd thing to see that people are so upset about the way that things are portrayed inside of, movies and entertainment, and in the entertainment industry all over the place. They get so upset over these things, and it kind of like branches into other aspects of people's lives. Like if, for instance, I was to go to Japan, would people treat me differently because I am, an American, and because I don't speak fluent Japanese at all, and because I'm blonde hair, blue eyed? Are they going to see me as like, oh, I don't want to approach this person because this is going to be really scary because they're American and they're going to be loud and obnoxious? Which, yeah, I can be loud and obnoxious, but, just maybe a little bit more than some other Americans are. But, I just a normal guy. I want to talk to anyone just like I would talk to my best friend, And it's the same with Americans on Asians, any Asians, basically, not just Japanese. Quiet, good with numbers, all these different stereotypes are all over the place. Not any of them really necessarily make sense even. But that being said, if I meet someone that is Japanese in America, I don't automatically assume they watch anime, that they enjoy ramen, that, they're really good with numbers, and that they speak Japanese or anything to that extent. Like if Ghost in a Shell was a great anime series, which I believe it was really good, and the movie is a great Hollywood production, then I'm willing to skirt past the fact that it's been whitewashed, because that's what I'm looking for. Now, again, could they have found somebody that did fit the role better, that acted just as good and had the movie be just as good? Quite possibly, but would they have made that movie? More than likely not, because they're in it for the money. So they are looking for these big name stars to be able to make big name money. And I get that. And that's kind of the same idea with, like, sometimes in animes, Americans are portrayed as, stubborn idiots or loud idiots, or, extremely beautiful blonde hair, blue eyed people that are just completely different from what you would normally see. You see this reaction on the main character's face, like, oh my god, it's an American, it's a foreigner, it's so different, and then somebody runs by that has pink hair, and you're like, wait, what? Like, where does that fucking come in? Where'd they come from? That's just normal. There's a lot of differences. I just really wish that there was kind of like a consistency across the board, that wasn't that Americans are like loud and obnoxious, or that we're all beautiful or all rough looking or anything like that. It'd be cool if it was just, we're just there. Like, yeah, okay, so you have a half Japanese, half American child. Why can't their hair just be black? Or if it is blonde, and they're fluent in Japanese, then why do they have to be so praised by everyone else? Like, oh, they're foreign, so because they're foreign and because they're different, we have to pay so much more attention to them. And I just feel like the foreigners inside of animes, specifically inside of animes, are treated so differently in the anime scene that it just doesn't really make sense. Like, there's no reason that they couldn't be the awkward person in the class. And for that matter, again, like I said, there's no reason they couldn't have just black hair and look more Asian, and people just ignore them. So you never see these kind of things. Just like in a lot of animes, you don't really see girls or guys, like more so guys, but girls who are unattractive or have a different body type. They all usually have like really nice bodies, or the standard schoolgirl frame or schoolboy frame. And it's just really getting boring. So, like, just a little bit of differences here and there could make something way better. They do it with storyline all the time. Why can't they do it with character design? And, maybe they hate Americans, maybe they don't hate Americans, maybe they love Americans, and that's why they portray them as like these gems, that essentially shine out and outshine everyone else, or want to outshine everyone else in certain character aspects. So it's just kind of a weird thing that I thought I'd talk about for a while, and kind of see if I can get any feedback from you guys. Do you feel like they're culture washing all of this stuff? Like they're taking our culture and blasting it out there and making it seem different than it really is? Obviously, a lot of animes are focused more on storyline and in Japan than they are on the American foreigners that happen to be inside of some of them. Do you think that whitewashing inside of the movie industry has gotten really, really out of hand, or are you of the opinion that, big blockbuster movies are always going to have, American or at least Hollywood actors in them that are going to make them the most money? Let me know. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my other episodes. Again, that was 10 minutes perfectly wasted.